Viajam.
Mhm.
What is it? No, hold on. Boa viagem. What is good travels? Don't tell me. Boa viagem. Boa
Yes.
viagem. Boa viagem. And bem-vindo a Viajo logo Existo. am I
Well
am
That's
done.
your
perfect.
I am your surprise guest host. I am LA Marks, the global creative director of Numina, here taking over in the studio with Leo and Rachel Spencer of your favorite podcast. Don't worry, I am not abducting your podcast forever and turning it into an English language show. This is a one time only special introduction for a new series that Leo and Rachel are going to be doing with Numina. Beautiful interviews with people who have done incredible entrepreneurial, creative things with their work. And if you know anything about Numina, or maybe better yet, if you don't know anything about Numina, let me tell you, we are out here trying to finance the future of work. And if you're a freelancer listening to that, you know that that means you. You are the future of work. Freelancers are making up almost half of the workforce around the world, and yet we often are excluded from the financial system. Numina, I'm proud to say, is working to change that and making investment and financing accessible to creatives, travelers, digital nomads, and freelancers and solopreneurs like me and like Leo and Rachel. So thank you so much, you guys, for having me on the show. How are you this morning?
We thank
Or
you. We're doing great. Yeah, beautiful weather here in Lisbon, and yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for all this introduction, and yeah, hopefully we can share things that we've been through the last 9 years and can be useful for somebody who's watching. Yep.
So take us through this. We have a big community of freelancers who are from, day zero, maybe still have their day job up until maybe they've been in business a couple years. Maybe they're growing their business and they're scaling it for the first time, more of where you guys are at in your journey. But how did you start? You started with a crowdfunding campaign and a dream. What kicked you off and really put you on the track to success?
Wow. We're still thriving. We're still heading to that. Like it's once you become an entrepreneur, it's a daily fight. That's I keep saying every month you have. It's different when you're on the corporate side. That it can be a bad month, but things you get your money at the end of the month. Some other people are helping you. You have a big group. Once you cross the line, you become you have to do things by yourself. And so yeah, in 2013 we changed our life. Like we quit. We worked for the financial market for almost 9 years, and then we had a dream of traveling the world by car. It was a completely
Now, do you
personal.
do you mean that you actually fell asleep and dreamt of it, and that's how the idea came to you, or how did the idea come?
It's almost like that. Like I have, we have no idea that was possible driving the whole world. We had normal vacation. You pick a plane, go somewhere else. Go to California. We've been there in 2011, just
That's where
after
I'm
we
from.
we start loving dating. And so, and then 2012 we do have a friend. He crossed the world by bicycle, all right, and he do an expo showing his pictures, telling some stories behind what happened during those 3 years that we've been bicycling around the world. And then we were there, and a friend of us, he said, hey, do you know the couple in Brazil, like somebody who traveled the world by car, was like they wrote a book. And that was our first contact with somebody who has done something similar, like
and
traveling the world by
and
car.
actually it was like not a Brazilian couple. She was
Yeah,
Brazilian, but the guy was
British.
British. What is much more
Yeah.
common in Europe, right? At the
Definitely.
time, like 2013.
And then we bought the book, and we start looking to the pages, like, come on, they were sleeping in the car. Okay, that's cool. That's nice. And then I said to Rachel, what do you think, Rachel? Would you, what do you reckon about this? And she said, okay, it can be, but in 10 years. And I said, okay. I went home. We didn't live together at that time. I went home and I started putting all the calculations to see if you can afford it and how that would be, and if we were able to sleep in the car. We never camped before. I have no experience with car.
I have never been in a tent
She
before.
never been a tent. Went
Wow.
to a store, and she got inside a tent and said, "How you feel?" She said, "Okay, I can live on that." Well, but I put it all
Incredible.
together in a matter of 12 months. We make a huge business plan, considering how much we're
So
going to
she said 10 years, you said 10 months.
I need to check all the planning before, right? And then we
No.
could say, okay, we can go.
The week after that, I come back to her with a huge Excel spreadsheet saying, I did the whole calculation. I was in the bank and doing that all day. So something that I have, I was used to. And I say, here's the number. We can rent our apartment. If we live with such a $100 per day, all inclusive, we can make it through. So that's how it started. We never thought that would become a job, that would become a company. We would
Just like the
Okay.
ultimate kind of DIY vacation to start.
Yeah.
But so do you
a
think-
long vacation and a long honeymoon, because almost 4 years everybody was saying this is the honeymoon everybody expected, and I was saying I don't think people expect a honeymoon sleeping in a tent
On the
over
top of the
on the
car,
top
yeah.
of the car, but okay.
Actually, I lived in Australia for a few years, and I always told Rachel like how great it was. And I said, all right, why you don't get there, but instead of flying, we go by car.
It took 4 years.
Well, so answering your question, so the first thing after I think 9 months we were on the road, people start telling us like we were growing a community through social media, and we were questioning them. We were asking them, what do you think about what kind of product can you create that will be great for you, and also we can make some money to keep traveling, because like every project, we can forecast a lot of things, but the whole everything always change. So okay, we're gonna live with the money from our apartment, the renting, but the currency in Brazil depreciated. The guy left our apartment, so we are not having the income anymore. So we were facing all the challenges that all the companies normally do,
And all the entrepreneurs.
all the entrepreneurs, yes. So that's when you come with the idea, okay, people want us to make a book. We can make the book. We still have some money, some savings. But what if we produce the book and the books stay in your home, nobody really buy it?
Nightmare.
So, totally nightmare. Burning money, interest rates in Brazil are so high. So instead of putting your money in savings, you're gonna live in books.
Or even the trip, right?
Whatever, yeah. So completely nightmare. So we said, how can we address that? And at that time, crowdfunding was a very small thing in Brazil. And it's okay, if people are willing to buy the book, maybe they're willing to give the money up front. And instead of putting our money, we can get those cash.
Light bulb.
Like that, yeah. But things were so in the beginning that we have to not only tell people what it was the crowdfunding, but actually how it worked. So we have to go step by step. You're gonna give your money. We have such a period of time to raise the money.
Even the company who was like the crowdfunding company was like a partnership, because they want people to know about what
they
was
were launching for the
crowdfunding.
first time. Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly,
So-
we experienced some of the same thing with Numina. It's like we are taking a totally different approach to financing and to bringing capital to freelancers and entrepreneurs. So not only do we have to tell them specifically what we're doing, but the grander paradigm shift that we're trying to make. So I think a lot of freelancers and entrepreneurs actually have that perspective. It's like you're not just coming up with like a different shape of coffee mug. You're like, why do we even use coffee mugs anyway? I have a whole new idea we can bring in.
But it's not easy to like bring new ideas, and people, again, you need to have some credibility so people can like believe in what you are saying and believe in your project and give money to you, right? So it's
How
like
did
a
you
mix
guys
of,
establish your credibility? Through social media?
I think so, because even like when Leo mentioned that we were like for a year we were planning the trip, and during this year we were sharing everything, more than just like sharing what we were doing. We were sharing the doubts about like which fridge should we have inside a car, which tent, what is easier? Is it better to have like a roof tent, or it's better to have like a tent on the floor? I don't know
Inside
how
the
to
car,
call
I
it.
don't know,
Yes.
yeah.
So people were getting engaged because even before the trip started, they were there and they were participating. It was much more about like a really community that we could like change information and learn from them and like share what we have learned during the planning. So when we started the trip, we have a lot of people that were expecting that we could like cross the first board, and they made it. So they are not they are keeping the marriage. That was the challenge, right? 4 years inside a car with no brakes. So people was always there for us, and as we were having a very honest conversation and sharing all the doubts and sharing the challenge and sharing how we figure out to solve the problems on the road, they were always committed with us, right?
Yeah, I think it's a matter of time as well. Credibility needs time as well to kind of
You
confirm
can't
or
rush that.
reconfirm. You can't rush.
I've noticed that the second that you try to rush someone when you're getting to know them, it just destroys anything that you built. And one of Numina's core values, and probably the top thing that we're always striving toward, especially since we're introducing ourselves to the world. I mean, we're introducing ourselves to your audience for the first time ever, probably, is trust. We know that finances and your career, which, in the case of freelancers and entrepreneurs, your career is really probably like your life's calling and is a lot more than just showing up for a paycheck. It's like that is the most intimate thing. You have to have such an incredible amount of trust with whoever you're going to bring into your finances with you, your budgeting, your future planning. What do you think was one of the biggest challenges that you faced in your travel so far as digital nomads, as entrepreneurs? Bonus points if it was specifically finance related, but I'm open to hearing about any nightmare scenario.
No, I think we can go through the financial point of view, because that a lot of people are interested, when you talk about nomad life. But on top of that, being connected was a challenge for us at that time, because different from someone who goes live in Thailand, for example, and sitting on Shanghai and different coffee shops, and which is super nice, and probably they are able to connect in super nice bands and internet stuff. Considering what we were doing, we were changing place on a base dailies, on a daily basis. So we were struggling to get a proper connection. And being a nomad, a digital nomad, is something based that you have to be connected.
We even remember that we even one day slept on a McDonald's parking to have internet and could work during the night using their internet because it was the only way.
But yeah,
that's not the glamorous digital nomad lifestyle that we share on Instagram every day.
Totally not.
No.
But coming back to the financial issues, I think once we change life from, like I was telling before, once you are on a corporate side, you can easily foresee your future. You know how much bonus you're gonna get in years and how you're gonna grow in your career. You have kind of master plan for you and the company. Once you cross the line and become an entrepreneur, things are much harder to predict in terms of cash flow, mostly in the beginning. So I keep telling people who are getting into this life, be cautious, and think about your cash flow. You might have a super nice idea, but in the beginning, they're gonna burn your money in a very fast way. So be prepared for that. In our case, like I said, we had a very clear path. Like we can spend $100 per day. That was our total budget. Whatever.
Did you stick to that budget, or did it go over?
By the end of the 3.5 years, we finished in $107, which is 7% higher.
That is so impressive, though. I mean, just hearing you say that you set that budget and you stuck to it within such a close percentage.
107.13 cents to be precise.
And so we had like all the expenses for 4 years. It was there in a spreadsheet, like every expense, even like if you were giving like $1 for someone on the streets, it was there.
We know how many tolls we cross and how many money we spend in fixing the car or food or whatever,
But
gifts to someone for ourselves.
but about the funding, like we had like the crowdfunding was like a way of funding. Like the 4 books we had, it was like using crowdfunding, but it was very nice. But also we can share about like this structure that you that we had like with some friends from the bank.
Yeah, like we were saying how we can get money without using our money, because
The ultimate question, how to get money without having to use your own money.
that's thing that was stuck in my mind all the time, because otherwise I'm gonna pay to leave, and seems like we were traveling, but we are paying for that. Okay, that was a personal goal, so that'll be fine. But if I can get money from somewhere else, and we have already the audience, we were growing credibility, and interesting. So the book, like Rachel said, the crowdfunding, the book was probably the easiest way to go through, and probably the most genuine way. Like we were getting money from our audience and returning the book and returning the stories. But considering the experience we have before in the bank, we look after some of the former boss in the bank and say, are you not interested in investing in yourself? I can pay you a little bit above the benchmark. In exchange, I can give you some collaterals, because I do have the money. I just want to separate my personal life from my business life. I don't want to mix this up. And it worked for a while. We have very soft monthly installment, so that was easier to go through raising money for the project and repaying back, and until we were big enough.
So you got a small investment from your old boss, so that you would have a little bit of like almost like a seed fund for the project, and you paid that money back with a little bit of interest over time.
Yes, perfect.
Perfect.
Oh my gosh, I hadn't even heard that part of the story. That's so perfect for exactly what we're doing. I mean, that's what we're trying to make accessible to other people like you, because most people don't have a friend that's an old boss at a bank that they can just knock on the door.
But again, we come, Lisa, but sorry to interrupt you. But again, we come back to credibility. He just borrowed me the money because he trusts us. He knew that we were traveling. All right, that sounds like they don't want to work, but that as he knows us, he said, okay, I know what they are doing. I know that they are folks, in to become a project. I know he has the capability to pay me back. So when you put all these things together, that was a very unique situation that we were able to use. And most of the people, they are, beginning a job, beginning a company, they probably will not see themselves on that position. You follow me?
No, but this is like what they call like a social capital. Like this networking of people, and again, everybody knows someone, so you can know the right people. But if you don't have the right idea or the credibility, it doesn't matter. So I think it's a mix of this.
This is exactly what our hypothesis is with our capital quotient tool. If you go into the Numina Pro app, we have capital quotient now, where you can upload your identity capital, who your experience, all of these things that are harder to quantify by other tools. You can show how well you make decisions. You can upload your financial information, show you have that actual backing. And then finally, the business plan, the idea. And so we're so grateful that you've been one of our first beta testers of that tool. And so if you're a freelancer out there and you're actually thinking, wow, this resonates with me, and like I feel like I have some social capital too, check out the capital quotient tool in the Numina app, because I think it's been very useful, especially when people don't feel like you don't get much credit for those things. It's hard to put a dollar amount on those things.
Exactly.
And even like this was an example with a guy that we knew, like it was a former boss, but we had like another example of a guy who was funding our project for a year. And in the end of the project, when we were back to Brazil, we had an agreement that we should give a speech to his company.
Oh,
but
cool.
Again, it was like something that, of course, it was just about the credibility. He needed to believe that we were coming back to Brazil, that we would deliver the speech as we agreed. But he was paying like a monthly fee for us for 1.5 years, I think, right? And it was another another way of funding our project. And it was something that we built together. Like we had a meeting and he asked, okay, what do you need? And we said, okay, we need money. And he said, how much do you need? And what can you give me back? We said, okay, can you pay us monthly and we give a speech when we are back to Brazil? And he said, yes. So again, about credibility, right? He needs to trust us and to believe that we would deliver what we agreed.
And I think also the mentality of trying to find different ways, you know, like this is very important once you are in this side of the game. You know, you have to, okay, you want to sell product, that's fine. It's a good way to get money for your audience. You can make a remote education program, okay, that's fine. You can look for sponsors, you can look for seed money, you can what else you can, you know, what kind of values you can offer to companies. If you have values, it's just a matter of find someone who can, you know, kind of agree with you, and you're gonna find the money. So we always said, like, you know, spend a lot of time focus in your story, in your core, in what you believe, and of course find the right platforms, you know, to communicate. And once you have this mix, it's a matter of time, you know, considering your average, you know, like you said, you have a social network, you know, keep offering, you know, take it serious, and then it's a matter of time to find different ways to fund. But it's not easy. It's not easy.
I believe it. I mean, and now here you are based transatlantically. You're living your digital nomad dreams, not just as your vacation, but as your actual full-time jobs and careers. And I think you're working on some new stuff, right? You've got some new projects in the works. How are you leveling up? You know, you've been collaborating with Numina. You've been with our friend Estevo in Lisbon. What's up next for you guys?
Well, yeah, we're very excited, you know. No, it's always a hard question because I can go through so many different angles. I can tell you about your next destinations. I can tell you about your baby girl. She's growing. She's about to become 1 year. So it's so many different fronts that we have to, you know, keep following. But yeah,
you've really checked off a lot of things on the bucket list in the past few years, haven't you?
Yes.
But regarding Nomena, we are becoming reality. I mean, something that we tried a few years ago and we didn't have the money, we didn't have the time. And then Nomena came with the idea of offering us support to make this remote education program reality. So since 2014, one of the ways that we also fund the trip was sending pictures to those microstock banks of image,
right?
Like Shutterstock or
passive
Get Image.
Income, passive income.
Passive income. Yeah, we were looking. I think.
What was your original goal? To make $1 a day on the rights to your photos.
That's how it began. Like I said, we need to money 100. We were spending $100 a day, right? So for every dollar that we make, that was 1%. If you can make 25 different sources of $1, that's a quarter of your budget. So we were okay. Let's send the pictures to Shutterstock.
I just come back.
Oh, baby Bella's crying.
Baby Bella's crying. It's part of her life now. So, like I was saying, we were really focused on making different of passive income. So we were start sending pictures to Shutterstock, then to Get Image, then to Dreamstime, then to deposit photo. And we're okay. If every of one of those can give $1, that would be, like I said, a lot of your daily budget. So after 8 years collaborating with those guys, we were putting this on paper. We were, you know, flowing a lot of different classes and try to share with people what we learned, the knowledge that we acquired through these years, because we do believe nowadays that most of all the people, they have a nice smartphone with a nice camera, so they could, you know, make a lot of pictures and send to those database or those bank images. And yeah, that's what we are doing with Nomena. We're putting together a course, and hopefully we're gonna be able to help a lot of people to start making extra money every month.
Love it. Love it. And it's so necessary for people like you who have the balance, the magic balance of the business side and the artist side to be able to mentor people and help people who have creative abilities, but just don't quite have the business side down yet. You know, it's not easy for many artists and creatives who have incredible talents to put together a spreadsheet, make a budget, you know, and that's why one of the products that Numina offers that I'm most excited about is our CFO Grow program, where you can actually work with one of our finance experts to build those financial projections, write out the business plan, and really get that high level financial guidance, which obviously you guys don't need because you are crushing it. So as we sort of like wrap up this chat, what do you think your audience, your community can gain most about Numina? What do you want them to know about us as we launch into this awesome interview series and see what the wild world of finance has in store?
Well, I think first time I heard about Nomena was like, well, there's a company who wants to give us money. That's a very good start, you know, like
That's
a
a quote
company
right
with,
there. A company who wants to give you money.
which is not, I mean, being an entrepreneur, you probably heard that from a lot of people. It's not easy to get money. You don't
Oh
get
yeah,
money.
I was turned down for investment a lot of different places. Even getting credit can be hard as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, money or credit. I mean, you go to the bank, they don't understand what you do. They don't want you. And they don't want you. It's hard. It's complicated. It's hard to value, you know, to evaluate what you're doing, or like I said, your social capital, or who you know, or who cares? They don't care. They make business, so they don't care. That's how things go.
Yeah.
So once I heard of Nomena and understood, and I think it's a growing thing, it's a developed thing. I think also that you guys are, you know, understanding how to solve this problem of all the entrepreneurs and freelancers or solopreneurs that they don't have access to financial mostly. So I was really excited. And not only for me, I've been connecting a lot of people say, I know a company in the US who is, you know, looking globally, and they won't take you seriously if you have a business plan, if you have a good idea, if you have a background, or if you are doing something for a while, you know, have experience, then it's much easier. And they are willing to listen you. They are willing to understand how they can help you to grow. So I've been talking with different artists. Good, really good friend of mine who, you know, really good painter. He's doing a lot of exhibition around the world, but he doesn't understand how to make a spreadsheet. He doesn't know how to
Mhm.
make a business plan. But okay, that's the time, you know, to put things together, and maybe you might get a sponsor, you might get a investment, you might get a seed, whatever, and you can, well, go to the next step. So yeah, I've been an ambassador of Nomino to all my friends in Brazil, trying to connect them and bring them into the community and bring them into this environment, because I think that's a very unique opportunity to have access, not only for the money, but like I said, to, you know, knowledge and know-how and expertise. So yeah, very
Yeah,
excited from
even
side.
just the education part, that's such a great point. It's like you might be really early on in your business idea and you don't need to take money right away. You should actually really work with just what you have and take baby steps and educate yourself and build your capacity first. So I'm so glad that you pointed that out. That's such a good
Yeah.
point.
Just completing something like you said, the baby steps, that's very important, because things happen when it has to happen.
Mm.
So maybe you're not ready now, but once you go through the education program, or you're gonna get more ready and ready and ready until you say, okay, I'm ready to get the money, because money is good when you know how to use it. Otherwise, you're just gonna burn the money, and you're
Yeah.
gonna have two problems: a business who doesn't work, and a debt.
Mhm.
So yeah, very good point.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to listen to too much of your interview series since it will be in your beautiful native language of Portuguese. But I am excited to try to listen in and check out those clips that are translated into English for us folks that are not so good at Portuguese.
No, it's fine. So
I
yeah,
really look forward to meeting you guys in person sometime soon. And until then, give Estevo a big hug for me. Oh, Rachel, you're back. Good. I'm just wrapping up and saying goodbye.
she's wrapping
So
up.
I
Yeah,
was just
feel
saying
free once
I'm happy that
you.
you're back because we're wrapping up. Last words from Rachel, from Mama of Bella. Close us out.
I didn't get you. Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying you can have the last word of the interview, whatever you want to say.
Well, it's nice to talk to you. Thank you guys for the opportunity to share like the word of Nomena, and I hope we can help a lot of people that have nice ideas and don't get the right people on their way to get the funding they need to have the ideas realized. So we have this. I don't know if Leo mentioned on the pandemic in 2020, we were able to give a lot of talks to people to try to help them during this period. So it's something that we always like to talk about entrepreneurship, and if you can help people, it will be very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And for any of you all listening out there, please feel free to download the Numina app. It is totally free. You can find me on the app, LA Marks, DM me, say hello. I can connect you with financial experts, give you some advice, access to education, anything you need. And of course, follow us on social media, Numina Pro.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.